Hello, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to Satsang. Satsang is an ancient spiritual practice from India. It means being in reality together. I give Satsang live every Wednesday and Sunday night in Portland, Maine. This Dharma talk was recorded during one of our Wednesday night gatherings. Please visit jayakula.org to learn more about the teachings. You can find video satsangs on Jayakula's YouTube channel, and my books are all available on Amazon.com. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. So some of you may have heard me talk about the concept of Maya. In Advaita Vedanta and a lot of other Indian traditions, and also in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which is very often the philosophical basis for a lot of the ways that yoga is taught in this country, Maya is defined as illusion. We know that from the time of Abhinavagupta, and before that, I'm sure, the difference between how Kashmir Shaivism interprets Maya and the way that Vedanta or Advaita Vedanta or Patanjali's Yoga Sutras defines it is one of the key ways of understanding why the Tantric tradition is so different from mainstream Hinduism in its view. So in Kashmir Shaivism by Abhinavagupta, Maya is defined as a Shakti, a creative power. And that Shakti creates by covering certain aspects of reality and thereby creating different patterns. So in other words, Maya is the Shakti of diversity. If we just think of unconditioned Shiva nature, then we think of something that is alive and aware and intelligent and brilliant, but formless. If we look at our world, of course, we're experiencing all kinds of crazy forms. So how do you create a form out of the formless? You have to limit the formless in order to create form. If you want to create a wave out of the ocean, you can't scoop up the whole ocean. You have to create a wave out of a small part of the ocean. So in a sense, if we want to look at it in terms of the Kashmiri definition or view of Maya, a wave is a limited perspective on ocean. Just as we are limited perspectives on God. So Ma is talking about Maya in this section. And she says, if you deconstruct the word Maya in Hindi, it sounds like May Aya, which means both I have come as well as I go. So she's saying that Maya is the experience of coming and going. Coming and going, in other words, birth and death, or simply change, she's talking about impermanence. That Maya is the Shakti that brings about the experience of impermanence. She's not saying impermanence is good or bad. She's just saying it's that experience of coming and going. The experience of impermanence is, on one level, you could say, a limitation on the experience of permanence, on the experience of the eternal. You know, if you want to make a value judgment about it, which of course almost everybody does, eternity is supposed to be better than impermanence. This is just a fixation. There's really no actual primordial reason why impermanence is better than permanence. And in fact, the experience of impermanence, you find out, emerges from that eternal source. It is made of it, so there's nothing to denigrate about impermanence. But then Ma goes on to say, coming is the same as going. They're equal. Creation and destruction are equal. They're both a phenomenon of this one source. And there's really nothing better about coming than about going. Most people don't want to die. Most people don't want to lose things. Most people don't want their house or their family or their relationships or their world to be destroyed. However, from the perspective of the eternal, which is the perspective that Ma is speaking from, destruction is equal to creation. There are equal processes of this reality. And she says they're just inevitable products of each other. Where there is coming, there is also going, and vice versa. As they say, jokingly, the cause of death is birth. And then she says, for if you say you are going from one room to another, you mean that you have gone away from one room and come into another. So by coming, you have gone, and by going, you have come. So stop whining. And then she says, another meaning of the word Maya is seeing something one moment and then losing sight of it the next. So Maya, you enter into Maya from the condition of seeing, of remembering your real nature. As you pass through the gates of Maya, you forget. You lose sight of your real nature. In doing so, you enter into particularity. You enter into specificity, which aka limitation. You become this and not that. And that gives our world its glamour, its beauty, its interest. It is the prerequisite for the experience of communication. It is the prerequisite for the experience of self-reflection. You can't reflect on yourself, you can't reflect on your nature unless there is an experience of duality. Otherwise, there's no play of something reflecting on something. So even though we can say that Maya is coming and going, being in the world of birth and death and of impermanence, even though we can say Maya is having known something and then forgetting something, Maya is also what creates the play of everything, the beauty of everything. That process of limitation, which is in the Kashmiri tradition, is said to emerge out of the Lord's Swatantriya. Swatantriya is a word that is very much associated with the Kashmiri tradition, and it is sometimes grossly translated as freedom. And then, of course, we get all bollocksed up because our only idea of freedom is, some sort of actual license. We get to do whatever we want. But the freedom of the Swatantriya means really freedom of expression. It has that word tantra in it, Swatantra. Tantra is a book. It's a form of expression. So through the Shakti of Maya, of self-limitation, self-imposed limitation, or self-imposed experience of limitation, there isn't really any limitation happening, it's simply an experience. As I like to say, as if, you were on the set of a soap opera, right? When you decide to be an actor in anything, any kind of a drama, you're expressing something, but you're not expressing other things. You deliberately don't express some aspects of yourself in order to play this particular character. But that doesn't mean that you aren't also all those things that you aren't expressing in that moment. You have, even as a human being, fairly incredible potential for self-expression. Even though we say the Lord has infinite potential for self-expression, can reflect anything out of its own nature infinitely, like the infinite potential of a mirror, you also have a little piece of that. You have, as a human being, a lot of possibility for expression. You can, even as a creative person, even have some experience of infinity, because there really is that feeling of infinity about creative expression. So you have that feeling, you are experiencing something of God, your own nature, your own divine nature. So you and God are doing the same thing, because you are that. She says, another meaning of the word Maya is seeing something one moment and then losing sight of it in the next. But having lost sight of it, you then come to express something particular, a shape, a form, a particular set of characteristics and potentials. So you make a work of art then. You're not just in the homogeneity of unconditioned nature. In this perpetual movement of Maya, there is eternal stillness. So she's saying that even when you have forgotten, even when you are in the realm of coming and going, you can still make contact with the eternal stillness of the Lord. Now, stillness doesn't mean rigid, unmovingness. Stillness is a relative term. It means more the lack of, or a cessation of so much expression, that there's just your own existence being there, living existence awareness. It's very lively, but it's like the reservoir. You can still contact that reservoir even when you are involved in all this coming and going and forgetting and stuff. So then she says, the Atma, and here the word Atma is very differently used than what we're used to in our yoga studios. Very, very wrongly, Atma is often translated to mean soul. But Atma really means that living principle of the Lord. It doesn't mean an individual soul. In fact, it means the opposite of that. And when it's talked about the Atma in you, it means the eternal one in you. It doesn't mean some little encapsulated you that drifts around from lifetime to lifetime. It's our idea of souls. The Atma cannot be destroyed. So that eternal livingness cannot be destroyed, no matter how limited you are, no matter how limited your experience is. And this is why any being in whatever condition always has some possibility to realize, because you can always, in some circumstance, experience that your eternal essence nature. So the Atma cannot be destroyed, for it is known to be eternal, pure, enlightened, liberated, and immortal. What is changeable and in constant motion is known as destruction. That is where coming and going, birth and death happen. She's then mentioning different points of view about Maya. She says, if you accept the existence of the eternal where truth is omnipresent, where is the place of transience or Maya? So she's saying one point of view is that you try to only focus on the truth or on the eternal, and then you try to reject Maya. This is the situation for a lot of Indian traditions. And then she goes on to say, yet from another perspective, and this is more a tantric perspective, you can say that Maya exists where there is creation, and hence it also belongs to the Absolute. So this is the view of Kashmir Shaivism, right? These, meaning Maya and the Absolute, these are two sides of the same coin. Right? So that's our teaching. That's what our tradition teaches. However, she says, mere intellectual inquiry is not enough to awaken ultimate knowledge. One has to persevere through spiritual rigor. But again, on the other hand, True knowledge is self-revealing and independent of karma. So on the one hand, we make these efforts. We indulge in spiritual rigor. On the other hand, knowledge of the self is self-revealing. It's happening regardless of what we do, independent of our karma. And part of our karma is our desperate desire to wake up, right? Not realizing that we are that already. Mm-hmm. So why do we want to wake up? Because that's what goat does. So we're not hearing a teaching such as this, we wouldn't stop doing practice. We would continue to do what we desire to do, recognizing that that's an aspect of nature, right? It's just another aspect of nature, that we aren't separate from nature. And also realizing that that self-revealing force is happening independent of our karma. Right? Jayakula is a nonprofit community offering opportunities to learn and practice in the direct realization traditions of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen. We are based in Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon. Visit jayakula.org to explore more of our offerings.